In this video, I just want to address a comment that was left on my Facebook account. Just to make it clear, Kathrine Lehtinen posted that I kidnapped her brother, and that's not the truth at all. Kathrine, I think you know that kidnapping means I've taken someone against their will, and the reality is Daniel ran away. Have you mentioned to people that Daniel was in a group home at the time? Daniel was placed in a boys' group home in Wenatchee during the time that he ran away. And it's not like we decided that instantly. I've been around this family for a whole year before we came to that decision to leave. So for 6 years, Daniel lived with me in Pennsylvania. And for those 6 years, Daniel was free to come and go whenever he wanted. And he did. Daniel actually went back to Washington 3 times and only lasted about 2 weeks on each visit, and would call me up and ask me to come back to Pennsylvania. The first time he did this, what he had on his mind, what he was thinking was, he says, "Do you think that now that I've been gone for such a long time, that my family will be happy to see me? Do you think they missed me?" And I said, "Daniel, there's only one way you're going to find out, and you'll have to go home and see what's going on." But that was like a real disappointing trip for Daniel. He did it 3 times, and all 3 times he came back heartbroken. And he would complain. He says all they did was yell at him and accuse him of being a traitor, which is kind of sad. You know, if your brother's gone for a certain period of time, yeah, I get it. You're angry, you know, because he chose to live with me instead of you. But you know what? If you want to keep him around and if you want to mend that relationship, you can't spend all your time punishing him. And that's what it sounded like was going on. And Dan just couldn't take it, and he came back. So those were the 3 trips that he took home. And Dennis, I'm just really a little bit surprised. You came to Willow Grove. You saw where we lived. You saw Dan's room. You met with some of the people that we hung out with. And you saw that we had perfectly normal lives. Well, unfortunately, what happened and what brought you to Pennsylvania is Daniel got sick. Daniel was just freshly diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He was in the hospital when you arrived, and he was just like days away from being discharged. Dan wanted to go back home again, but I really was not comfortable with him traveling to Washington alone this time. With bipolar disorder, they were still trying to regulate a new medication called lithium, which, by the way, it's a pretty heavy-duty medication. Bipolar disorder is not something that's triggered from an event. It's a chemical imbalance in the brain. And I stress this with Dennis over and over. Important. As soon as you get back to Washington, make sure you hook up with a doctor. Daniel has to get right back into some kind of treatment for this, and he needs to be hooked up with a doctor who can do their weekly blood test. Lithium is the kind of drug that needs to be regulated and tested constantly. Okay, so you'll usually have weekly blood tests, and that's to read the different levels of lithium in your system. And because the doctor's going to change these doses constantly until he finds that perfect dosage that gives you, that balances out your emotions where you need to be so that you can just function every single day. And if that's not happening, then chances are you're not going to function very well. You're either going to be super depressed or you're going to be super manicky. My only interest here is to connect with Dan. For 6 years, Dan was part of my family, and I was part of his family. I was his family. As much as family members don't want to hear it, Dan cared about me. I cared for him. I took care of him. I did everything that I should have done, taking responsibility for him. He went to the doctors when he needed to go. He went to the dentist when he needed to go. I made sure he stayed in school. He had clean clothes. He had 3 good meals a day. He lived in a clean, stable environment. That's what Dan was looking for, and that's what I provided for him. I'm sorry that this insinuates that things were not good when he was a kid, but they weren't good when he was a kid. But I'm not going to get into all of that here. My only interest right now is to connect with Dan. We lost communication 35 years ago. I didn't give up on him. It just happened. It was difficult for Dan to communicate with me. He was not allowed to communicate with me. And somewhere in the shuffle, we just lost that communication. I've been looking for him for a long time. And now I've gotten this close. And that was the whole reason I created Facebook, blog, and a YouTube channel. But Daniel deserves that. He has that right. Again, you can hate me all you want, but that wasn't Daniel's feelings. So he has a right to communicate with me. And just by all rights, if he doesn't want to, that's fine. I can accept that. But I want to hear it from him. I don't want to hear it from Kathrine, and I don't want to hear it from Dennis. If Daniel is the person who's decided he doesn't want to deal with me, you guys all have cell phones, you all have video capabilities, you can just videotape him, post it on your Facebook, and then it'll be done. I'll put the whole thing to rest. Otherwise, I'm not putting it to rest. All I want to do is connect with him. I want to find out how his life is, what's going on. And I'd be thrilled to pieces to learn that he's happy. He's married with children, maybe grandchildren. That would be a wonderful thing to hear. I just kind of have a feeling that's not the way it is. And the reason why I feel that way is because during all these years I've been searching, Dan has no internet presence at all. There's no public records for Daniel. There's no criminal records for Daniel. There's no records of telephone, email accounts, nothing. Absolutely nothing. The one and only photograph I see of Daniel out of all the Facebook accounts is this really sad looking photograph. And again, I'm not attacking you, but the thing is, don't prevent him from talking to me. You don't have to be happy about it, but let him connect with me. I want to find out and if he's in bad shape, you know what? Maybe I can help him. Maybe I can do something for him. Maybe it'll make him happy to hear from me. Maybe it'll make him happy to know that I didn't abandon him, that I never gave up on him. So again, if you're just coming on board for the first time, checking out the Facebook page or the blog, you know Daniel, or you know something about him, you're friends of the family, whatever, I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions because I'll agree, the whole thing sounds pretty crazy, right? Who does these things? But trust me, when you can put all the pieces together and you can decide for yourself. But you're not going to be able to do that unless you ask me questions. So please feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to explain everything that I can. In the meantime, do look at all the pictures of Dan on Facebook. I don't have tons of pictures. I've had a lot more. They got burned up in a fire. But what you will see, you'll see some pretty happy, a happy kid. You'll see pictures of a pretty happy kid. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now, and I'll be posting more videos. I'll be posting videos now for Dan's sake. Stuff that we did in Philadelphia, places that we went, and again, hopefully one of you that is in contact with Dan, you can show him the videos, and there'll be good memories for him, I'm sure. You can ask him, by all means, ask him. Okay, thank you.